Whew. Okay. All right. Here I am. Here I am. I'm going to let's refresh that page real quick. Don't need to hear that. And yeah, okay. Everything's good there. Good. Time to share on the Twitters. There we go. There we go. I'm live now. There we go. There we go. And from what it sounds like, what happened? I'll get to that in a bit. Underworld Dream and hello to Tehelium. How you guys doing? Hope you're all doing fantastic. Or, well, I know, it's like Mecha is dead. I should have retitled that as Mecha is hated, because that's what the article is titled. It is a very weird discussion that we were probably going to be having. I'm going to wait a little bit. So, and I know I've been gone for a while. I've been either under the weather or. So, Mecha Random 42 died. No, not that I'm aware of. Mecha as a anime genre apparently is dead or is hated or nobody likes it. And we'll get into that. Like I said, I know I've been gone for a while. I've been under the weather for a couple weeks. I was also demotivated after on basically we played like SD Gundam Cross Rays, all that stuff, but my YouTube subscriber count took a hit. If you noticed, we were at like 936, and now we've dropped to 925. That kind of took a little bit of wind out of my sail. Tumblr hate mecha anime because it's not gay enough. Maybe. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Not really, but yeah, maybe I should have done that. No, it's fine. But we'll get to the bullshittery here in a bit. So please feel free to like this video for cringe. Like the video for cringy takes on Twitter and YouTube and all those other wonderful websites and really shitty news articles that people apparently think are worth writing. So how have you guys been? If you have any questions for me or anything that you want to talk about, feel free to ask away. Like I did say, I was kind of sick for a bit, and I'm better now. I've been pretty good. Most of this week has been okay. It hasn't been too bad, but just a lot of demotivation. But we're gonna try and rip that Band-Aid off and get remotivated. Because on this sides are always stands a Nazi. You can't platform Nazis. Well, that's not what this article is going to get into, Underworld's Dream. Thankfully, that is not what we're going to be discussing today. Thank God, because if that was the case, I would be like, seriously? Allegories of Nazism or dictatorships bother you this much? It's not real, you know. But yeah, we're gonna talk about this, and then I'm gonna probably talk about Trails of Cold Steel. Over the last week and a half to 2 weeks, I have been playing the shit out of the first game on my PS3 because I wanted something to do. I will be planning probably a review video in the foreseeable future of the game. I just don't have any footage of it I haven't captured any footage of it, basically, so I'm gonna have to do that at some point. until then, I'm gonna just, we'll chat about it. We'll have a fun conversation. I wish I could invite other people who maybe have played Trails of Cold Steel, but I doubt that's going to happen. Kind of wish I also had someone else to chat with, but that type of stuff happens. Okay. Maybe someone will hop in at some point and ask to join. It's up to them. But let's get to the article that we're going to be discussing. And it's very cringy and stupid title. Apparently this comes from Anime Motivation by a Theo J. Ellis. His bio is down here, if I remember correctly. At least I saw a bio. Here it is. I'm the founder of Anime Motivation. Okay. First anime I watched was Dragon Ball Z. Wow. Okay. Followed by Claymore, Inuyasha, Attack on Titan, and the rest, as they say, is history. Nothing really negative about what to say, but it's going to be very clear and apparent that he has a bias when it comes to anime. But we'll get to that in just a bit. First things first, I need to rush all the way back. So how's chat doing? I played Call of Duty Mobile and my character dressed up as a BLM rider. Please stop. Underworld, please stop. Going around tossing Molotovs and shooting RPGs. Well, at least it's close to real life, right? It's close. Not quite. I don't think they've released the RPGs just yet. But 6 people, but only one person in chat talking. Hello. It's always interesting when we have multiple people, but only one person is talking. But maybe they have it in the background in the chat. Okay, so this is why mecha anime is hated and why it's not a great genre. Here, let me fix your title. For starters, this part. This is unneeded. It's not. This is why mecha is great or loved and why it's a great genre. There you go. I solved the problem with 2 easy edits with no sign of any form of stupidity. Anyway, let's actually read the article, and then I'm going to discuss some of the topics that it discusses. Mecha is one of the oldest anime genres around, and the fact is, if it weren't for mecha, the industry wouldn't have made it this far. Yeah, there's a lot of parts of the mecha, of the anime industry that owes a lot to the mecha genre. This is obvious. We can say that much about the mecha genre historically. One thing I noticed about the article in general, it's like it's not really exploring mecha's history or its influence on the culture of anime as a whole. Mostly it's just him of saying, certain shows are great, but now there's nothing going on and, stuff of that nature. It is really poorly researched. No data is provided as to why mecha is hated. Please, if you're going to say this, if you're going to point out that mecha anime is hated by the general public, like from the Japanese fans to the American fans or to the global fans, you need to, prove it. You need to show posts or something saying, at the very least, you could have shown statistics of the genre, some of its more popular entries like losing money or not making as much as predecessors. At least then you would have something. Joan is here. Hello. Mecha is a good genre that can be just as impactful and great with the right hand and talent behind it. Absolutely. That is 100% true. It's a great genre. And it's still a great genre. It's still a good genre that people still like. So I don't know where this guy got off. Okay, so I could point that. I'm going to point this out, actually. There's the... I don't know if you guys know of the YouTuber by the name of Gigik, who does anime-based content. He did this type of bullshit twice in a row Well, not in a row, but he did 2 videos talking about why the mecha genre is not as popular as it used to be, or why it's faded into obscurity, or this, that, and the third. And at least he has some form of love for the genre and an actual, I don't know, at least he tried to explain why he thinks the genre has kind of fallen to the wayside compared to other genres that are more popular currently. Like I think one of his videos was actually talking about what was it? The how the idol scene in mecha shows was kind of what dethroned them, basically, considering that a lot of mecha shows had like idol characters, like you think Macross and other shows, they kind of embraced that whole idol vibe, and now basically most mecha shows have just a bunch of idols and other sort of stuff. That I know that definitely happened with Macross, but it did not happen to every genre, but or every show, but it's. And speaking of history, yeah, he's talking about Mecha has been around since the 1800s. I think his dating is a little weird, unless he's referring to just like, humanoid robots and stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff's always existed. So has like living dolls and other assorted things. I'm going to ignore some of this part, but this part right here, I'm not really interested. If we're going to talk about the history of mecha anime, we have to start in this ballpark, 70s and 80s, and probably a little bit before then, because to this guy's knowledge, apparently Gigantor is not a thing, because Gigantor was probably one of the first giant robot shows ever filmed in Japan, and even made it here in the States, if I remember correctly. Anyway, 1970s and 80s, we had shows like Gundam. Yes. Then Neon Genesis Evangelion, which helped boost the genre's popularity. Quick side note. He must have made a typo or some sort of stupid decision, because Neon Genesis is from 1995 and Gundam has been around since 1979 and onward. But here's the thing. There are other mecha shows aside from these two that are that have just as much popularity and have been around even longer than they have, like Mazinger, Get a Robo, a lot of super robot shows that even I don't even know about. I would like to point out, I've not watched every single mecha show out there, but yeah. Also, a little bit of shade on Evangelion. I don't know if I can even call this a mecha show. It's hard for me to say it's a mecha show, considering that the Evas are alive for all intents and purposes. Not really robots. They're actually bioorganic beings. Anyway, Giguk, he does some shit posting in his videos, and it has a 50-50 chance of getting both a research video and a nice shit post. Yeah, I like Giguk for his funny, shit posting. Macross forever. Yes, Shinobi. That guy has too much political stuff and talking. No more, needs more killing. Tetsujin 28 Go. Yeah, there's another one. Hello, Florence. Oi! It's been ages, man. How are you? I have not seen you in a long time. How are you doing, man? Mecha Pilot needed to tell people and try to convince him that they are a good guy and that the bad guys to shut up. Jin Tenjin was awesome. I've never watched it, actually. I watched that on the Sci-Fi Channel in the 90s. It was on the... It probably was. Sci-Fi Channel did run a lot of... Talking about Mecha? Yes, we are. We're going to talk about Mecha, and then I'm going to transition over to the JRPG I've been obsessing over for the last week or so. But I wanted to read this shitty article, apparently, because I want to torture myself. The genre's popularity. Okay, so for starters, because he doesn't mention this, but I'm going to mention this. The Gundam franchise. 1979 was when the original Gundam series aired. What this guy doesn't tell you is that it was a financial flop. Sunrise did not make enough money off of the original Gundam. That's why they canceled it at 43 episodes instead of going the full 50 as it was the norm. It was canceled prematurely. They had to rush to end the show or in the series. And it was only because it was re-released in a movie format, and then later on model kits, or they were, Bandai got involved and started producing model kits for the show, is when it actually gained its mass appeal and popularity. And ever since then, it has been the staple of mecha shows and basically the standard for a lot of mecha shows moving forward, especially real robot ones. Evangelion definitely did help, even though it's really hard for me to call it a mecha show when there's a lot of really weird things about it. After all, Neon Genesis Evangelion is legendary for its success. Yeah. It's highly popular. I'm not going to dispute that. I've never really watched Evangelion. I've watched an episode or two back in the day. I know I can watch it on Netflix now, but I haven't watched it yet. I'm kind of busy with other things. You'll probably remember it as New Gigantor. Maybe that's it, yeah. You can tell a mecha show without political stuff in it. Yeah. Build series, Metabots. Southern Cross has production issues that forced them to cancel too. Yeah. Not having a whole lot of toys didn't help either, yeah. We need more stompy mecha. Enough with Super Robot Mecha. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that. I kind of like the mecha shows where they kind of ground the robots a bit more. That's why, like, Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team is my favorite Gundam show of all time. Okay, so, and now he's talking since the 2000s, we've had Code Geass, Full Metal Panic, followed by Gurren Lagann, Eureka 7, Darling in the Franxx by 2019. Okay, so all these shows, I'm going to describe of how I feel about them. Code Geass, awesome. Full Metal Panic, also awesome. Gurren Lagann, really great. Eureka 7, barely watched it. I know it's a good show, but I haven't watched much. Darling in the Franxx, I started watching that, but I haven't gotten back to it yet. But also heard good things and weird things about it. So I would not put Darling in the Franxx in the same category as Full Metal Panic and Code Geass and Gurren Lagann, because Darling in the Franxx is just weird. It's that straddling that fine line of really weird and slightly odd choices for the mecha shows. I think it was clearly heavily inspired by Evangelion, because Evangelion had a lot of symbolism that involved, adult things, off-brand kind of stuff. Not really, but it involved things like adulthood and growing up and other stuff like this. Darling the Franxx basically says, yeah, we're talking about sex. Pretty much, at least in some cases, that's pretty much what they're talking about. Uh-oh, this is a problem. I'm gonna turn my fan on. It's gonna be loud, but I don't care. Hopefully it won't be too bad. It's really warm today. It's not as bad as it was yesterday, thank God. Okay, what's going on in chat? Genesis, Climber, Mospita also. I'd be lying if I said my kind of writing is sort of similar to Evangelion in the throw all the symbolism at the wall and see what sticks. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but I think that symbolism also kind of makes the show, I wouldn't say preachy, but it also kind of makes it feel like the guy's trying too hard to be, philosophical, and he basically, it feels too try hard, in my opinion, for the type of show that it is. Not that it's a bad thing, and I can't talk about it too much because I've never really watched very much of the show, so I'd have to actually watch it in order to give my full opinion on it. But things have changed. Mecha isn't what it used to be, and there are a couple of reasons why. Let's talk about that. This is why Mecha is disregarded. Okay. When is Mecha disregarded? Mecha is a genre of anime. Who's disregarded it? Who's ignoring it? Who's not paying attention to it? It's ingrained in Japanese pop culture. Heck, there's a lot of other shows and other forms of media that throw giant robots in because they know giant robots sell. Just even if it's for a gag, even if it's for, like, I'm trying to remember. There's several, like, comedy shows that have referenced Gundam or referenced Super Sentai or referenced other sort of forms of mecha anime. It happens. Mecha is a boring genre. Well, this is your personal opinion. This is not fact. This is not a fact. That you have nothing to back this up. A boring genre. Explain it. Put in detail. Use words, please. I beg of you. I can't remember the last time someone recommended a mecha anime for me to watch. Not ever. That's because probably you don't have friends who watch mecha anime. If you do, then maybe somebody would recommend it to you. Or maybe your friends aren't interested in mecha shows, so they don't recommend it. Mecha is not dead. Mecha is not lost to the general stream of time. It's just that, unlike other forms of anime shows, they're not as common. Just because they're not common anymore does not mean that they are not popular still. Can you, and if so, how many times were you impressed by what you saw? I could name on one hand how many mecha shows, at least in the last few years, that I have, just like, let's say, last 5 to 10 years, of them that were really bad or that I was not impressed with. And actually, one would be from probably a previous decade even. The only one I can think of that wasn't very impressive from, like, current crop of mecha shows was one from a couple years ago, which was, what's it called? Gundam Build Divers Gundam Build Divers, not Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise. Re-Rise is actually really good, and it has impressed me. But the original Gundam Build Divers, kind of unimpressed. There's a lot of other mecha shows. There was Gundam The Origin, which was really good, especially for an origin story for sure. There's been Iron-Blooded Orphans since even before then. There's, let's see. I mean, you mentioned Darling in the Franxx, Code Geass, other shows. Did it really blow you off your chair? Also, question, have you ever watched Gundam Thunderbolt? I've barely watched Gundam Thunderbolt, and even I know that Gundam Thunderbolt is a thing. I'm going to be mentioning a lot of Gundam, but that's because Gundam is my favorite mecha show, and there's been probably tons of other mecha shows also out there. And, oh yeah, that's right. Oh boy. Megazone 23, Fight Iskar, one of the greats. Anyone and anything that was from Tomino and who worked with him and was inspired ended up making either something really good, really dark, or really weird. Yes, and he's even made weird shit too. Has anyone in chat watched Armored Trooper Vatomes? I actually haven't watched that before, but I know what it is. To reiterate what Giga said, giant robots are effing awesome. Yes, they are. Tumblr not paying attention to giant robots because there's not enough shipping. Maybe that's it. I'd be like if I said most people disregard Sword Art Online, but I know there are plenty of people who like it. Exactly. That would be like me writing that kind of, I would write that article like, no one gives a shit about SAO. Say, SAO is hated. Nobody cares. And then I'd probably get reamed in my comment section for saying such a stupid thing. Because even though it's not my favorite show, I know a bunch of people who love SAO. Me personally, first season had good points, and then it was literally torpedoed by the second half. It was fun popcorn anime, and that's kind of what I regard it as. It's just a popcorn show. It's not great. It's not amazing. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's fun to sit down and watch for a little while. There is a bee in my room now. Fantastic. I'm so thankful I'm not allergic. Night and Magic is a good mecha show. Yeah, and that's also an isekai on top of it. I've actually watched it. It's pretty fun, actually. I wouldn't say it will blow anybody's minds, but it was good. Any place I can watch that other than Funimation and Crunchyroll, Joe? What are we talking about? What show are we referring to? I don't think Vatum is on. If I don't know. Anyway, part of the show of Armor Troopers. Okay, back to the article in question. If you were born in the 90s or 2000s, chances are you dropped most of the mecha shows you've watched. It's just not a fun genre to get into. This is a bold statement. Please, sir, elaborate why you would drop most mecha shows in the 90s and the early 2000s. I could understand dropping them now because there are some mecha shows that are bad or that weren't very good. But if we're talking about 90s to early 2000s, we're talking back in the heyday of when mecha became a thing stateside. This time period between the 90s and the early 2000s, especially early 2000s, was when Gundam in particular and other mecha shows got their footing here stateside. This is what made Evangelion popular here, as well as Gundam, because that's when it was released in the early 2000s. We saw Gundam Wing aired on Toonami in the early 2000s. And then after that, they just kept on raking in more and more mecha shows. Mecha shows were literally all over the place at this time period. And not only were they everywhere, they were highly popular. There was so many people who were watching this. To this day, here in the States, the most popular Gundam show, period, bar none, is Gundam Wing. It still holds the title of King of Gundam here in the States. Whether you love or hate that is, another thing entirely. Me personally, it's not my favorite, but I know it's not a fun genre to get into. How? Why? Is it because it's too much for your tiny brain to comprehend? Do you have any idea how much effort goes into making a mecha show? Is it too hard for you to comprehend? Now, here's the thing. Now, this is my personal take for, in particular, Gundam Wing. Gundam Wing spends an excessive amount of time talking about politics. In particular, the politics of that story and the politics of just... It spends a massive amount of time, and it's a lot of filler. Some of it's important, and a lot of it isn't. But the show does pad it out with a lot of talking. Still a good show. It's not my favorite, but I would still recommend people watch it if they've never seen it before. SEO is just a dot hat knockoff. Well, you're not wrong. He's doing this for two things. One, he needed the clicks and views for cash, and he's playing things that he knows would get clicks for the anime community. Two, he genuinely hates mecha and anything related to it. I'm getting that vibe. Hey, Magic and Jones. Oh, that's what it is. Gundam Wing is overrated. Yes, it is. It is overrated, but it is what helped get the genre's foot in the door here in the States. Gundam Wing helped birth the slash fic fanfic, and it turned to help birth Tumblr. Ouch. I'm not going to deny that there was probably a fair amount of shipping, which is why I tend to stick with the UC Gundam shows only. I prefer UC, but that doesn't mean that there aren't some alternate timeline ones that are good. Like I mentioned, Iron-Blooded Orphans is pretty good. It's second season waves the death flag too much, personally, for my taste, but it was okay. I like Gundam 00. It's probably my favorite alternate timeline. Gundam Wing is still a enjoyable walk down memory lane for me. And Seed even has its good points, though very few and far between, but I'd much rather watch that than watch certain other shows. Anyway, but this is all there's nothing to back this. 90s to early 2000s? Are you freaking kidding me? Where did this come from? There's a good reason why. Mecha is boring and stale like moldy bread. Okay. Maybe that's just your own personal preference. Here's the thing. Personal preference is a thing. Certain people are going to like certain things. Me personally, when it comes to anime as a whole, the only anime things I tend to ignore or avoid are, some of the more raunchy stuff, because I'm not interested in that stuff. And what else? What else is there that I tend to avoid? I'm not very big into horror either, so I don't watch very many anime shows with horror elements. I've watched a few here and there, but nothing ever tickled my fancy. But still, even I wouldn't say it's boring. Hentai is boring. I would never write something like that because it's incredibly stupid. Or say this is why this is bad. Insert reason why this is bad here. Why does Kira have 0 kill streak even though he killed hundreds of soldiers? That's because he didn't technically kill them. But yeah, there's this is frustrating and really stupid. It's been this way since anime shows like Gurren Lagann have aired. Gurren Lagann is freaking amazing. I love that show. It's been a long time since I watched it, but it was a lot of fun. Okay, let's break some of this down. It's hard to make mecha interesting beyond the robots and the typical themes you see. Really? You're telling me that things like political intrigue, war, or fighting giant monsters is not interesting. Themes, ideas, things that people can connect and relate to. I think Ganoi may help make Yaoi popular here as well, judging by all the fan art. Well, you're not wrong there. You are probably not wrong there. I want a horror mecha anime or a manga, but I could never find one that was what I wanted. No, that's unfortunate. Yeah, maybe make it. If you've got the means to do so, maybe write it down. Write a story. Go for it. You never know what might happen. I need to work on that stuff too. But it's not always easy for me to get to. Okay, so I'll play devil's advocate here for a second here. Let's say that some people just are not interested in mecha shows. Okay, that's completely fine. Let's say the reason why they're turned off is the theming. Maybe some people don't like a war story. Maybe they don't like the theme of fighting giant aliens or something of that nature. But that's a personal preference. That doesn't mean that the genre is dead because it uses those things. And for that matter, a lot of these, the robots are always popular. Okay, let's just get that right out of the way. Robots are cool. I have never met somebody in my life who's going to look at a giant robot from Japan and say that doesn't look cool. There might be some people out there, who knows, but I've never met those people. If you could point me towards some people who say they don't like giant robots, please feel free to send it to me via Twitter or send it to me via my comment section or something. I don't know, but there's a lot of prototypical themes you see in mecha shows. One of the things about the mecha genre, at least as it stands right now, let's see. There are 2 genres for mecha. It's actually split into 2 categories. Super robot and realistic, or real robot. Gundam stands under the real robot title. It's actually what helped pioneer and create that genre, where it tackles actual realistic situations, robots that could potentially actually exist. But not only that, but also talk about themes about war and humanity and all the other fun things that you could get. Something sometimes very deep and philosophical. Super Robot is where you basically have a giant robot with unbelievable superpowers. You know, they're unrealistic, not likely to ever be created. Although it would be cool if they were, but things like Mazinger or Getter Robo or any of those guys, those are super robots. So we got two genres within the genre of mecha. And each show normally tackles different themes. Here's something. Gundam Seed tackles racism. Basically. But the thing is, it handles it kind of crappily. But still, it does try to tackle a topic like racism. The main Gundam series, the UC timeline, tackles things like, well, not just war, but also things like dictatorships or the corruption of government. A lot of these things are actually pretty engaging for people who actually have at least two brain cells to rub together, or at least more than that. Oh, Jesus. Have I missed a lot of comments? I hope I didn't. Hello, Dark and Link. How are you? Yeah, it doesn't interest me. Kira versus Amuro. Amuro, make it happen. Please don't. That would hurt my soul. UC does tackle everything, quite literally. Amuro wins. Super sexy mecha girls being awesome and badass, but then throw in 2 extra themes and just spice it up. Why not? He's one of these guys who needs to be told what to think. Yeah, probably. Amuro New Gundam is OP. I don't know if it could still beat the Strike Freedom or the Freedom, but it would be pretty powerful. Robots are popular. That's why Transformers gets a new show every 5 years. Yep! If robots weren't popular, even things like Transformers would not be a thing here in the States anymore. Okay, so this is where I think this person's personal bias is where it kind of takes root. As we saw and discussed earlier, the guy's profile says that he likes or started with Dragon Ball Z, and a lot of the stuff that's in his profile are shonen based. Okay, so it's not an interesting or as cool a genre at like shonen, supernatural, or even romance. Romance is very formulaic and very hard to screw up. You can't really do a whole lot with romance. Well, you can. You can do quite a bit with the romance genre, but it can become just as overbloated. Actually, these in particular, these three genres of anime are exceedingly bloated. There are so many shonen. There are so many supernatural shows. There are so many romance animes. Guess what? A good chunk of them suck really badly. They're not good. Heck, if we're going to talk about shonen in particular, Shonen Jump in particular, they get mangas that are canceled after only a couple months because they don't attract enough readership. I like certain shonen shows. I like Shonen Jump. I've been a fan of Dragon Ball Z for a long time. I'm not as big a fan now as I was back in my teenage years, but I still like it. I know what it is. And heck, even romance. I love me a good romance anime. I watched both Clanad and what was it called? Oh, An Ebb in the Sea? I can't remember what it was. Both really good romance shows. And Supernatural can be overbloated as hell. Leo's a YouTuber who covers 80s cartoons, especially Thundercats. What are we talking about? Oh, okay. Feels like they retcon Earth to be just as bad as Xeon. No, they were law of diminishing returns. Yeah, Earth is just as bad as Xeon. They've had their fair shares of really, really bad decision making. But yeah, Omni is correct. Law of diminishing return. That's when you just populate shit. You know, you can make 100,000 romance animes, flood the market with them. Some of them are going to be decent. Some of them are going to be good. And then you're going to get a lot of them that are really, really terrible. This is just the fact. I'm actually happy that Mecha doesn't spend that, considering the amount of production and money it costs to make a Mecha show. I'm glad that they actually spend the time to actually flesh it out, and maybe they only release a Mecha show a couple times a year or maybe once every few years. I will take quality over quantity any day of the week. That's just how it is. I'm going to take quality over quantity because that's how it should be. Wait, you mean the super duper popular genres have trash material in them? Say it ain't so. How could this be? It must be fake. Yes, I'm fake news. You can do a lot with romance. The Super Dimension shows are living proof of that. Exactly. I've never watched that. But like I said, there's a ton of really good romance animes out there, and there's a lot of really bad ones out there too. One of my favorite romance animes of all time is Toradora. Absolutely love that show. I rewatched it again not that long ago. It's fantastic. You know. But, you know. And there's even new romance shows out right now, like Rent a Girlfriend. That one's actually a pretty fun show. It's enjoyable. But the shonen genre, let's talk about. You want to talk about typical themes? Okay, this guy mentions typical themes, right? He mentions typical themes in Mecha. Tell me, guys, how many tropes and typical themes are there in a shonen series? Especially ones that are of the battle nature, like a battle shonen. Tournament arcs, an annoying lead protagonist that's too stupid for his own good. I can play this game too. I can play the same game this guy is playing. The same game of, oh, hey, you know, there's a lot of typical things that just aren't interesting. I can say the same for shonen. We can play the same game. And shonens, if we're going to talk about the popularity of shonen, it's a very, very big popular gap in comparison to, the mecha genre. Goku is a household name. Naruto is a household name. These people's images are quite literally everywhere. One Piece as well. If I show that to people who probably don't even know what anime is, more than likely even they have seen it. They're in some form or fashion. They've probably seen it while passing by. Maybe they saw an ad or they saw something. But yeah, those characters have brand recognition because of their popularity. Because it's really easy to get into shonen when, by the way, you're a teenager. Because this next point is teenagers, the main target audience of anime, do not care about mecha. They're more interested in shonen and comedy. Prove it. I want evidence. Show it to me. This is not, you'd have no proof of this. Are you living in Japan, Mr. Theo? Do you live in Japan and do you talk to all of the young teenage Japanese kids and ask them if they like mecha? Seriously, honest question. Are they more? this is like this. This is a thing of popularity. Comedy is very broad for one. Comedy is something that almost everybody can get behind. It's a very easy genre to get into. Just find a show or a series and have fun with it. Comedy is really easy to get into. Shonen is just as easy to get into. But comedy is just like kind of a universal thing where that could even be outside of anime. But shonen is just the more popular brand of entertainment in Japan. It's because it's a mainstay for a lot of mangas is shonen. That's not to say that it's better than Mecha. It just has a larger following. The discussion here is completely biased. Because this is a person who clearly likes shonen. Which is like, okay, cool. More power to you. You like shonen more than you like mecha anime. Fantastic. I'm not going to go against that. There's a lot of stupidity in the community when it involves shonen series. Like, people used to bitch and argue about the big three all the damn time. Like, which one is better? Naruto, One Piece, Bleach. Which I thought was incredibly childish and stupid. You know, like whichever one you like. If you don't care for One Piece, you don't have to watch One Piece. One is not infinitely better than the other. It's just that they're all popular and people prefer one over the other. And he points out to produce... look, he used... Oh, but he put it in quotations. Why did you put quality in quotations? Mecha shows normally have more quality and more production value than their standard typical romance comedy or comedy show when it comes to anime. Quite literally. They normally have a bigger budget and they normally have to spend a lot more time making the animations better. There are so many romantic comedies and shonens that can cut corners and get lazy because they don't want to make shit. Good example? Back in the olden days when Dragon Ball Z was airing, didn't they like have multiple episodes sometimes where they were waiting for the manga to finish up so that they had to fill it with just characters powering up for a goddamn half hour? And the other characters gawking in awe of, oh my god, they're so powerful now. And they did that all the time. I'm looking at you, Dragon Ball Z, in particular. In general, creating any form of anime or any form of entertainment is hard work. Mecha shows are a bit more of a risk because if the series doesn't do well, especially for newer series that have no backing, it's very hard to accomplish. That I could maybe agree with. But this whole putting quality in quotations irritates me. However, war, patriotism, and big no-nos. I know. Can do a lot. Oh wait, yeah, I would read that. As a Warhammer fan, the only mistake Earth made was that it did not coming with a final solution to the Xeon problem. Wrong. That's not the only thing that they screwed up. Shonen series stars a shonen. Power of friendship. Yeah. Defeated enemies become weak allies. Yeah. Very tropey. Very easy. I have like 4 to 6 mecha projects I want to put out there that I find interesting for mecha ones. Macross, Southern Cross, Orgus makes up for Super Dimension shows because they're mecha shows with romantic themes in them. Yes, because you can cover romance in that genre too. I was a teen when I watched mechas. Don't remember which I watched first, but my uncle had the ZZ Gundam, and I played with it, and I found it cool. Yeah, there you go. The more you read, the more you think this writer had his head up his anus when he was writing this. Probably. Mech shows... yeah, I already read that. From an ideological woke perspective, a mecha is an allegory for a weapon of mass destruction. Yeah, if you want to get that. Well, Omar mobile suits cause a lot of damage. That's true, and some carry nuclear warheads. Anybody remember the GPO too? Quality, execution, and I think what's important to Mecha. Yeah. Oh, you mean Ohio? Sorry. Bigger budgets are necessary compared to something more simple like a slice of life. Well, no freaking duh. You have to animate giant freaking robots. Do you have any idea how much more time and energy it takes to, one, hire a mechanical or an artist with a more mechanical background, a mechanical designer, to make a show and then make a mecha design, and then you have to go through the painstaking effort of animating that thing. Sunrise is basically the only, or probably the only few game in town to begin with. There's very few other companies that do it, but they've been doing it for years. Some of their animation is top quality, some of it is bad, but it takes a lot more to animate a fight scene between two giant robots than a bunch of girls sitting around a table talking about whatever random shit they need to talk about. This takes work too. But a mecha show is going to take significantly more time to create and develop. And this is a stupid meme. Cringe of the highest order. Mecha animes aren't what they used to be. Do tell. Prove it. Their animation quality has gotten better. Sometimes we have some of the best fight scenes in more modern mecha shows than we ever did in the old ones. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the old mech fights are really awesome too. Yeah, it's like others than shows that have managed to keep mecha alive these days. Full Metal Panic, Darling in the Franxx, SS Gridman. Gridman, let's talk about Gridman for a second. Gridman is not a mecha show, at least not entirely. This is based more on tokusatsu, considering that Gridman is actually made from an actual tokusatsu by the same name as Gridman. It's a love letter to tokusatsu. It's not a love letter to the mecha genre, it's a love letter to tokusatsu, in particular the Gridman himself. Gurren Lagann, Code Geass, and others I won't mention. That's probably because you can't mention them. These are the only ones that you could find from your Wikipedia top 5 page. Mecha genre is dead. Prove it. Teenagers and young adults aren't too hyped about it for a reason. Can you explain and elaborate why the mecha genre is dead and why teenagers and young adults aren't too interested? I say that as someone who's a big fan of Full Metal Panic. Are you? And then I'm a big fan of Code Geass and a few others you mentioned. I don't buy this for a second. If you're writing an article that says that this genre is hated, or that people don't like it anymore, I'm not going to read any of your other trash articles, or that you're a big fan of these, but you have the gall and the audacity to say that nobody likes this genre anymore. Old, young, doesn't matter. To say that it's dead, to say that nobody likes it anymore, is stupid. Thank you for notifications, Windows. You have no backing for this. There's no posts, there's no tweets, there's no charts. There is nothing. If you were to show me something like the declining in popularity and viewership for something like, I don't know, like Gundam Build Divers, which had really low ratings and did not do well, or Gundam Age, at least then you would at least have some data to back up your claim. But you don't. You don't have any data to back this up. It's all out of your own stupid head. This is your own brain. It's your brain that's half melted and is dying in the heat. I love Tekkaman Blade, and it was a good anime. Gundam Wing is okay too. There you go. A way that makes them look like they are moving in a still than anything. I have mechanical designs in most of my characters since I put them in armor and suits. It's a nice detail that requires attention to them. Yeah. Then why is G1 Transformers? They put it in a little detail as they could into the robots. Yeah. People are still Transformers is still popular. Put an easy 3 times more effort in them since they have more motion and detailed scenes in them. Yeah. Becomes even more of a pain to animate when the robot transforms. Yeah. A mecha thriller with other themes could work if executed well, but good God, have to win. Ever notice that robots don't always transform the same as the toys do? Thanks, God. I was hyped for Iron Blooded Orphans until the ending. Yeah, the ending was sad. It was very depressing. Transformers made a mistake of trying to appeal to the female audience, and it turned to bring into a Tumblr type. I don't agree with that. There's a lot of talking in Transformers. Transformers has its own fair share of drama. Does anybody remember the dramatic death of Dinobot? Literally Shakespearean. That's drama. That's him, talking about him being a warrior and dying a warrior's death, and he's being literally like freaking Hamlet. Granted, he is fighting, but that's beside the point. And I don't agree with that. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with them making more female Transformers. I don't see a problem with that. They can't. The thing is like they kept on changing canonically of like how female Transformers even were created in the first place, and they can't really make a decision on that. You mean that people falsely advertise the toys to say they can't be informed into the shape so easily, like the show? Yep. Now the drama is relationship drama. The characters have relationships. Some of the characters have betrayed one another in the past. That's not... Relationship drama isn't exactly something that cannot exist in Transformers. Some of it can be a little bit off-putting because mostly what you want is to see the Autobots and the Decepticons fight each other. There's nothing wrong with maybe having a couple issues or so of that happening. I'm not 100% sure. The relationship between Transformers and their sexuality is a weird topic to begin with. But the thing is, in particular, for like what Underworld Dream is saying, they tried to get girls into Transformers 2 even before this new stuff has come in. RC and Alita 1 have been around since Gen 1. And that was an attempt to get a female audience. Didn't really quite work out how they planned, but that was an attempt. They did the same thing with characters like Black Arachnia and Air Razor and Beast Wars. They had full-blown character arcs. Need to go the route to bring in females when they didn't have to change a thing about My Little Pony to bring in guys. That's true. That I can agree with. Making some of the changes are probably bad or stupid, but they'll probably be retconned anyway. I don't know. Let's see. Times have changed. Have they really? Modern day versions of Mecha look more like Gurren Lagann. No. Gurren Lagann is very unique in its own right. It has its own aesthetic and style. No other mecha show looks like it that I can think of. Seriously, I'm going to ask my chat right now. Guys, you tell me. Does Gurren Lagann Is there any other mecha show out there that looks exactly one-to-one like this? That has the same aesthetic? Where it's over-the-top crazy and badass? I can't think of any. Closest I can think of is maybe... Let me think. What show would be close to that? Maybe Darling in the Franxx has a little bit of that aesthetic style. Especially with its robot designs, but that's about it. The character designs look nothing like Gurren. Not really. Well, Optimus Prime passed the Matrix to Ultra Magnus while on his deathbed. That was weird. I can't think of any that look like Gurren Lagann. I can think of a few that are inspired from it, and that's about it. Yeah, but none of them that look exactly like Gurren. Because we could go to something like Gundam Thunderbolt. Gundam Thunderbolt looks nothing like this. Not even remotely. We could look at Code Geass. Or Evangelion. Or any of the others. SSS Gridman. Because that's mentioned here. None of them look like Gurren. Gurren is unique in and of itself. It has no competition for a show that looks exactly like it. Series we've seen, not to mention the most popular, it's no surprise. Gurren Lagann is influential, produced by the same studio behind Neon Genesis Evangelion. Okay. Mecha shows like Gundam are a thing of the past. Times have changed. Really? Strange. Last time I checked, wasn't Gundam on its 40th anniversary? Last time I checked? Didn't they do the whole project Beyond 40? We still got that going on. Bunch of celebration for the 40th anniversary of Gundam, both in Japan and here in the States. Aren't they developing and constructing an actual moving Gundam in Japan right now, as we speak, that can move its move body parts? Wasn't there just talk from Bandai that they're going to be creating a statue of the Freedom Gundam that's going to be placed in China? And that they plan on expanding that to other countries as well? Are mecha shows like Gundam a thing of the past? No, they're not. They're still relevant to this day. For a series that has lasted for 40 plus years, it's had its highs, it's had its lows, it's had its failings, but it's still going strong. It's not dead. It's not a thing of the past. It still has a large fan base. Okay, so I'm going to talk here real quick. There is one thing I will say. The fan base here in America and on the Western fronts did miss out and lose the momentum that Gundam had stateside due to Bandai closing off the North American branch that was releasing DVDs. That definitely hurt Gundam's influence here in the States. But ever since then, and that was like about for 10 years, where that was happening. Or close to 10 years, quite a few years, well over 5 to 6 years of them not really having a presence. But eventually, things like having Gundam Info on YouTube and other assorted, Gundam shows coming out, and now Gundam shows are now also being broadcast on places like Funimation, Crunchyroll, and other assorted places, Netflix, the like. The series still has its fan base. It's still gaining some form of popularity. It hasn't died off yet. If that ever does happen, it'll happen because people lose interest entirely. But if they're going to keep on releasing Gundam shows, still to this day, even after flops like Gundam Build Divers, and heck, even committing to it and making a sequel to Gundam Build Divers and Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, which is significantly better, I don't think the Gundam franchise has much to worry about. At least not currently. Unless this guy has been looking at their stocks and seeing a mass decline in popularity for Gundam, which, by the way, I'm betting he doesn't have any of that. Gurren Lagann evolved instead of sticking to the traditional style mecha. Gurren Lagann is a super robot show. Plain and goddamn simple. It's amazing. It does have its unique quirks and personalities and things that are different about it. It's not the same as something as dramatic as like Evangelion. It's not the same as Darling the Franxx or Code Geass. It has its own thing going for it. And that's why it's, popular. It's very clear that this person has a thing for Gurren Lagann, Code Geass, and what was the other one we were talking about? Full Metal Panic. Actually, looking at this list, let me considering he mentions comedy, Gurren Lagann, a lot of comedy. Darling in the Franxx, kind of funny in its own right, has a lot of comedy elements of its own. It's really hard to take it seriously. Full Metal Panic, comedy, lots of comedy in that one. Gridman has a good amount of comedy, not obsessive. The only one out of his list here, right here, that it has almost very little comedy, Code Geass, where it takes everything way more seriously. And even it has comedy elements in it, but that's the point. Coolest mecha anime ever. Even non-fans can enjoy it. Are you sure? It has a lot of the same tropes that super robot shows have had for a long time. Giant robot that keeps on getting more powerful as time progresses. Ridiculously oversized weapons. And fighting a god. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's actually really good. But as far as what's popular with girls, yet it took 20 years for RC to get a toy. Very true. I didn't say bring in female Transformers. I said female audience. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Female audience. Well, an all gay Transformers team. Interesting. I don't know anything about it. Gundam statue is in testing, and yeah, it's in testing phase right now, moving. A thing of the past. Is that why Gundam keeps coming out with shows and games? Good question. Then they just released Gundam versus Maxi Boost recently. How Gundam model kits are still being made. Yep, and being sold at high volume. That head is firmly up his butt. No doubt about that. You won't get an argument from me. Okay, so other mecha of the past and most in the present didn't evolve with the times, and so they either became obsolete or no one cares, the same way most don't care about the genre. Okay, let's talk about this. This seems interesting to talk about. Didn't evolve with the times. This is false. Like I said, Gundam has been around for 40 years. What did they do with Gundam Wing? They created basically a J-pop band. A bunch of pretty boys fighting in giant robots against a couple of equally attractive antagonists. And one girl fawning over the lead bad boy, or the lead band member. They did this twice, by the way. They did it with Gundam 002, where it's a bunch of really attractive hot boys, fighting the good fight. Um, oh yeah, Gundam Seed evolved with the times too, didn't it? Oh, that's right. Very pop heavy, very idol influenced, considering they had a freaking idol in it. Um, and the aesthetics were completely not what I would expect from a Gundam show. It was more like what I would see something from Macross do. Even Macross did this. Macross had an entire show dedicated to idols fighting in giant robots. This is ridiculous. I mean, even the Gundam Build Fighter series and Build Diver series, they know what sells. It's like cute anime girls sell really well. So let's make cute girls fighting giant robots. Now, Gundam hasn't fully committed to that, where it's like just nothing but girls. But it wouldn't be impossible that they might make one of those in the future. Man, that's so idiotic and stupid. Darling in the Franxx, whether you agree with it or not, is another mecha show that managed to keep the genre alive and evolve with the times. It got people's interest because it has to do with banging. That's the show's main selling feature. It's about procreation. That's it. It talks about procreation. The first 3 episodes talk very heavily about procreating. I'm saying that to be family friendly. Though probably not family friendly, but that's beside the point. It's about procreation. It has a lot of cute girls in it too. Did you notice that? What is that one girl's name? What's that one girl who's really popular from the show? Zero? Or what was her name? I forgot her name. But yeah, very popular characters. It might have stolen ideas from other mecha in the way that blatant enough to make you cringe, but it doesn't change the facts. Yeah, actually, that does change the facts. If it ripped off of other things or was inspired by other forms of mecha shows that talk about certain themes like youth and becoming sexually active and other sort of things of that nature, then it's really not evolving anything. It's just new. It's a fresh coat of paint with something that's already been discussed. It's just more blatant with it. Because I'm pretty sure Evangelion had a fair amount of this kind of crap in it too. And then there's SSS Gridman, like I mentioned, tokusatsu based, not really mecha. Another mecha from 2018 that evolved with the times. You know, what would be really great is if you describe what you mean by this. Evolved with the times. What does this mean? Elaborate on this sentence or on this phrase. What does this mean? Evolved with the times. Are you talking about animation style? Are you talking about what the themes are, what they discuss, what the characters do? What is it that you're referring to? Well, no one can beat Code Geass in Evangelion. The only other one that can compete is freaking Gundam. And like I said, Gridman was aimed towards tokusatsu fans, not mecha fans. Though I'm pretty sure some mecha fans probably watched it too. And also, best girl, right there. I love her so much. I forgot her name though. Was it Rika? Rika. There aren't many masterpiece or quality mecha series out there. Really? Are you sure? Have you watched Gundam Thunderbolt? Because you're only mentioning Code Geass and, Full Metal Panic. Have you watched Gundam Thunderbolt? Have you seen Gundam the Origin? All of which, high quality, by the way. Code Geass is an exception because it's still alive and kicking to this day. So is Evangelion. Of course, it's considered a masterpiece in the anime industry, not just in the mecha genre. It's basically the mecha version of Death Note. That is why it's so successful, interesting, and clever the way it handled it. Yes, it's different. Would I consider it a masterpiece? Yes. Just the same way as I would consider something like Gundam Thunderbolt a masterpiece. And I haven't even fully watched it, but I've watched enough footage of it to know that this is high quality shit. And it's worth a watch. And Full Metal Panic is the only mecha series that managed to keep the genre alive with multiple seasons for more than a decade. This is bullshit. Utter bullshit. I hate to tell this to this guy because it's clear that he doesn't like Gundam, but here, let me explain it to you. Gundam is the epitome of mecha anime. Period. They are the god. They are the ones who have created a genre or have helped popularize the genre. I should say create, but popularized it. While other genres have other shows have faded away, Gundam is still consistent. Heck, most of the shows that you're referring to, especially ones like Code Geass and Full Metal Panic, they're made by the same studio that makes Gundam. You are an idiot. So, Mecha Doggy Style Simulator? Valvrave was a decent mecha. No. Please, no. I heard horror stories about Valvrave. Gundam and Macross are the gods. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with this much of a Gundam hate boner. Well, because it's hard to say, because it doesn't seem like he's shown any interest in watching any of those shows based on this article. I'm not saying that he's never watched them, but if he's not paying attention to what's in the mecha community or what mecha shows are out there, then it's very clear that he's not paying attention to them. Gundam Thunderbolt is a goddamn thing. Gundam the Origin is a thing. Literally watch Gundam the Origin. You can watch it pretty much anywhere you want. And it's very well done. And it's like only 12 episodes. But it's beautifully animated and well crafted. Telling the origin of a character that, a lot of people didn't really have an origin. Well, I mean, he had an origin, but they expanded on Char's origin before his conflict with the Gundam. It's the most consistent mecha anime and is considered great among the sea of average mecha shows. List the averages. List the painfully average, because you're not listing them here. List them, please, and thank you. Gurren Lagann, Eureka 7, just Evangelion, Darling in the Franxx. List the rest by 2019 standards being debatable in terms of quality or mainstream success. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to look this up real quick. Mecha anime 2019. Let's type that in. Let's see, Mecha anime list. These are not from. Trying to find ones from like 9. Okay, SSS Gridman is one that I could think of. IBO was only like 5 years ago. He doesn't even mention IBO. Not even once. Okay, what we got going on, chat? The reason we don't get Macross sequels is because Harmony Gold shenanigans. Yeah, exactly. Most Americans' first ever Gundam was Wing or Seed. Yep. Now, if they watch the original Gundam or Zeta, yeah, some of them do. My introduction to Gundam was 0083 comic that used the animation cells. There you go. But I'm pretty sure, well, because here's the thing, he even mentions that there aren't very many mecha shows that are released consistently anyway. So it's really hard to say, the quality of all of them when there aren't that many to compare to. Mecha animes aren't that popular or successful. This is a claim that you have no evidence of. Show me the numbers. If you can. You can't point to many of them. That is a bunch of bullshit. I pointed toward multiple series that are great, fantastic, or even a masterpiece. Gundam Thunderbolt is considered one of the best Gundam shows in recent memory. You mentioned some of others that I actually really like as well, like frickin' Code Geass and Full Metal Panic. But quality over quantity. There's other ones that you don't even mention in here that are from the super robot genre, like Mazinger Z, Getter Robo, Gao Gaigar. I don't know. Pick one. The whole entire... Because here's the thing about, like I mentioned before, quality over quantity. I would much rather there be one good mecha show opposed to a half dozen really shitty ones that aren't that good. There's not a lot of creativity going on in the genre. Really? Because the shonen genre has been the same for decades. There's a lot of shonens that are pretty much stereotypical, the same shit, different packaging. Same for romance. Same for comedy. They are full of mediocrity because they're created in mass. Creators reuse the same ideas. Yeah, and so does every other genre. And even when they have good ideas, bringing them to fruition takes more work for a mecha anime. You're an idiot. Yes. You can blame it on studios, their budget, or the changing times, but something is standing in the way. Mainly idiots like you who don't actually watch any mecha shows. So until the mecha genre is reinvented as a whole, the genre will continue to be a little boring, stale, uninteresting, and unpopular with teenagers, especially. So the hate, which is an exaggeration, won't fade out anytime. Then why did you title your article as it is hated? Why did you title it that if it's exaggerated? You're an idiot. You're doing this for clicks. You got me to click on your shit article. And I got to freaking rake you over the coals for it. Mr. Theo J. Ellis. You're a stupid idiot. Maybe go out there and actually watch some mecha shows, and then maybe you'll find something interesting. See, this is what I do when it comes to anime in general. I go and I watch animes. I go and check out different types of anime. As much as I'm a big, massive fan of mecha, that doesn't mean that I dislike shonen and have a hate boner for it and say shonen is dead and is stupid and I hate it. I don't do that. If I was part of any type of website and they asked me to write articles, I would not write this because this is poorly researched and poorly explained. I mean, this is probably in a similar style of how I would probably write an article with bullet points and whatnot, but at least I'd cite sources to show that the genre is dying out or that there's a problem with the genre, that it's losing popularity with fans. I mean, people wouldn't shut the hell up about this show. Everybody freaking would not stop talking about Darling in the Franxx when it came out. People lost their shit over this one. They lost their shit over Gridman as well. Especially the girls in particular. But yeah, they talked about these shows incessantly until the shows reached their conclusion, and then everybody said that they were garbage. At least a good portion of people called them garbage. And for someone who, because it's clear that it's like you've never watched a mecha show. Or you've watched only a few. You've watched a handful. You know next to nothing about this genre. Nothing. I wonder what the comments say. I politely disagree with many of your points. Gridman is more tokusatsu made anime than a mecha anime, even under a broader take of the genre. Everything in the show is aimed to evoke tokusatsu shows like Ultraman or the original Gridman. There are many masterpieces mecha anime. The fact that you only know Code Geass is because of your own lack of knowledge about the topic, rather than the lack of classics. Currently, mecha anime isn't in vogue, but isn't hated. There are still plenty of fans that follow new Gundam series or movies. I think hate is quite... Whoa, this guy did a whole freaking paragraph. He did a whole entire essay. Good job for you, Kuma. Isn't in vogue, but it isn't hated. There are still plenty of fans that follow new Gundam series and movies. I think hate is quite the strong word. The general public is mostly indifferent towards mecha shows. That I could agree with. There's a lot of fan base in anime that don't care about mecha or don't watch it. You're projecting your own biased opinions towards the rest of the people. Yeah. Gurren Lagann is basically a spiritual successor to Get a Robo. This is that. Yeah, there's a lot of inspiration from Get a Robo from that one. Now that I think it. One of the showrunners wrote the introduction to a Get a Robo manga anthology, plus it borrows elements from several other classic shows in a reconstruction of the mecha genre rather than a modern deconstruction. Gainax only remixed previous stuff and added a cool art style. Gundam is still really big. Duh. The shows and movies like Origin, Thunderbolt, Twilight Axis, Narrative, Unicorn, and the upcoming Hathaway's Flash are all highly rated and have a lot of money behind them because they look amazing and all of them are from the last 10 years. Get owned, bitch. I mean, because here's the thing. You know, all these shows that he's just mentioned, high budgeted. There's something I forgot to point out. Gundam live action adaptation with Sunrise in as producers. Eighth Gundam is legendary as a mecha. It started mecha. It did not, but okay. Neon Genesis Evangelion carried it forward. Gurren Lagann made it cool, but my point here is most people only see the genre as big robots and nothing more. Hence why the success rate of mecha struggles. I could actually see that as at least a decent reply. This reply to one of your comments proves your extremely superficial knowledge of the genre, because not everything with Gundam on its name is highly rated. Justice Evangelion wasn't the only show that advanced the medium, and if you need Gurren Lagann to teach you that giant robots punching stuff are cool, then you need a new set of eyes. It's a shame that people see it that way, but mecha shows is actually about the mecha. All mecha are in one way or another a metaphor for something, or merely a vehicle, pun intended, for the narrative. Please try to watch more shows than the really superficial mecha shows. You might find yourself pleasantly surprised by the political thrill level machinations of Char Aznavour and Gundam the Origin, or feel the bittersweet melancholy of the that impregnates Turn A Gundam, or maybe you want balls to the wall action like New Get a Robo or Gao Geiger have. Giving uneducated opinions about the genre only makes you look bad. Oh wow, he actually responded to some of these? Oh, this might be fun. This should have been titled Why Mecha Anime is Hated by Me. This is a little more than your opinion and hardly fact. Now, it's entirely fine that you find mecha anime boring or whatever, since taste is subjective. This is true. If you don't like mecha shows, you don't have to watch them. But you then presume that everyone in your age group shares your tastes and that they are only ones who matter. I, for one, love mecha and cyberpunk anime. Give me Macross, Vatoms, and Ghost in the Shell over Dragon Ball and Naruto. To me, those animes are stupid and boring and are repetitive as hell. But I'm not going to go on a rant about it because people do like them, since that's the thing. I don't like them, but I don't speak for other people. What I find stupid and boring about Dragon Ball might be the thing you love about them. It's entirely subjective. Also, I've just got to point this out, but but the times have changed is never a valid argument for something. Just because it's current year doesn't mean what's new is good and what is old is bad. Just because something is old doesn't automatically make it good, and being new doesn't make it bad. It's all about what it brings to the table and what you look for in your entertainment. I myself don't find mecha boring. Really? I very disagree with that because it's clear that you do. I'm speaking generally. No, you're not. You're trying to speak for everybody. Across the board, as far as how anime fans treat it, especially relative to other genres, get involved in the community long enough, and you can clearly see regardless of age group. You're an idiot. You're offended to a degree, but ask questions before making assumptions. Fact is, times have changed, and mecha isn't what it used to be based on facts and data. Oh, really? Facts and data? Where are they in this article, Theo? I'd love to see it. What you're seeing is as far as success, and I say that as a fan of mecha. You are not a fan. It's hard to believe you're a fan of this, considering that's very clear that you seem to have a hatred for some of them, or that you don't get them. If you like some of them, that's fine, and you don't like others, that's fine too, but me speaking for myself, I don't see you as a fan of this. If you are, you're a superficial one at that. Well, the Franks did not keep mecha alive. It killed the super robot genre, and the reason everything but Gundam sales these days. It's because otaku these days have shittier tastes. That is true, actually. Shittier taste is always a self-centered thing to think. Not really. There's a lot of people who have bad taste. It's hard to take you seriously saying it. Otherwise, yes, Darling in the Franxx did fall flat on its face in the end, but it was one of the last major mechas to be released as far as being mainstream. You're an idiot. Okay, I'm done with that. I don't want to talk about this article anymore. I've run out of steam. I'm bored. Did we miss Escaflowne? Gundam Wing? Yeah, he clearly did. And I thought Uzaki hating clowns were stupid. Yeah, no kidding. I thought they were bad. Jesus. This guy makes them look good by comparison. No, they're both stupid. For Western fans, I can see them not really liking mecha by much. Yeah, I could see that too. You see, mecha in the States, compared to, like, let's say in Japan, yeah, where it's a much smaller community. Like, if I made a YouTube channel wholly dedicated to mecha stuff, like nothing but mecha shows, yeah, I would have a hard time getting a large following. Now, if I were to do something like, oh, hey, I talk about shonen and nothing but shonen anime and manga, you can get a substantial audience because there's a lot more appeal there here in the States because it's the more popular genre. Why? I don't really know, but that's how it is. Look at fans of the new She-Ra and Korra shows. Yeah, there you go. Oh boy, howdy. Yeah, there's a lot of people with bad taste. I make fun of some of my friends who have bad taste. I've made fun of somebody who for their taste in Gundam shows for fun. They can like whatever they want. Still doesn't mean I'm not going to shit on them for their shit taste in characters or design or anything of that nature. I'm not going to speak for everyone. I'm going to speak for myself and from my own personal experiences. Of course, I can always ask for consensus from my audience as well. Like, what do you guys think? Do you think, do you think that the mecha genre is dead? Do you think that it's out of touch? Do you think that it hasn't evolved or adapted to the times? Which I strongly disagree with, considering that there are more idols now who sing J-pop songs. I almost said K-pop, but I mean J-pop songs than ever before in the mecha genre. Why? Because it's popular, and they know it. I shit on G Gundam fans a lot. There you go. I shit on Gundam Seed fans myself, mostly. And Gundam Wing fans. on occasion when I feel like it. I need more water. Okay, I'm gonna go get some more water. I'm gonna be right back. Mecha is about as relevant as the superhero. Exactly. Superhero genre and mecha genre are still popular. They still have relevancy in pop culture. Anyway, like I said, I need to go get some more water, maybe use the bathroom real quick. I will be back, and then I will sit down and have a chat about Trails of Cold Steel for a while, and then we'll probably close out the stream. I will be back. Oh boy. I am back. Whew. Water was needed. It's warm up here. This is not as hot as it was yesterday, but boy, is it hot. What are we talking about? What did I miss while you guys were... Their taste for Korra and Nushira is for the slash ship, aka those who... Could you guys please stop talking about shipping in my comment section, or do I have to ban you all? I can't afford to do that, but seriously, could we change the topic, please? I know I was gone for a while, but you don't need to talk about yaoi and shipping and stuff like that. I find those topics annoying and stupid. I know he did. Underworld is on thin ice. Warning! Warning! Please stop talking about that. I don't care to talk about that right now. Not really interested in talking about shipping or whatever is going on Tumblr, because I don't frequent that site, and nor do I care. Don't care about, and I don't care about the new She-Ra either. If people want to like it, they can like it. If they want to hate it, that's fine too. More power to you. But I am not interested in discussing it. You know? Kids might watch this. I hope they don't. Well, my streams? Yeah, probably not. That's probably a bad idea. What was I going to do? What's a cold steel? Okay. Images. Okay, so all right, so what we're going to do now is a bit, and we are going to talk about Trails of Cold Steel, because for the last couple weeks I have been grinding the ever-loving crap out of that game right now. I am on chapter 6 right now, which means I'm nearing the end of the game. And oh boy, howdy, have I been having a lot of fun. So I'm going to ask the question to chat if they know what I'm referring to, if they know who this avatar is that's on screen right now. We're going to talk about the JRPG Trails of Cold Steel. So if you know about the series, if you have any form of information or knowledge, let me know now. And I will patiently wait. What happened to my Mecha light novel? I'm not talking about that right now. I don't have anything planned for that right now. I've got other stuff going on. I don't know if I'll ever get to that light novel or not. It may be too much for me. I don't know. Right now, basically, what I really need to work on, or what I really need to wait for, okay, let me explain this. Since Underworld Dreams seems to want me to talk about this, I'll talk about it for a bit. I am an incredibly slow writer and typer. I am not exaggerating this. Even when I am motivated to write or motivated to type, it takes me an incredibly long time to do so. This is kind of a hurdle and a roadblock for me personally. Now, I have stuff written down. I have character designs. I have a lot of stuff that's probably the start of a skeletal structure that I can work with. What I need to do, at least at this current point in time, I intend on buying to find a program basically that allows me to speak into a microphone and have the text translated onto a page. At least in that way, I could get the work done quicker. Okay? I'm not trying to be frustrated or annoyed here. It's just that I need to be motivated to work on it, which sometimes my motivation drops, because I get distracted. I have ADD. For those of you who don't know, I can't focus on one thing for too long. I lose interest, and then I have to jump to something else. It's very hard to stay on one subject and keep on working at it. But doesn't mean I'm not trying to work on it from time to time. I don't know. I get too many ideas that run through my head, and then I lose focus. And yeah. Well, that was a downer. I'm not trying to be mean here, but it's a bit of a sensitive topic, I guess, for me. I work on stuff at a very slow pace right now, and I don't know if I can get all of it done. I know what I should probably do is just write a short story of some sort, but like I said, writing takes a lot of time for me. So, and I got other stuff to do. I have this channel to work on. I've got other personal obligations that get in the way. I'm not trying to be lazy of finding the time and then being motivated to do something with that time. At least I hope that explains it. And I seem to have lost the audience. Wonderful. Perfect. Oh boy. And the heat is rising in the room. Anyhow, did anybody have any other questions for me besides that one? Besides the talk of the light novel thing? Don't even have anything written yet. To be completely honest. Skeletal structure has been there for years. I'm just need to work some stuff out. Maybe it's personal. I don't know. Okay, so that water is nice and cool. Thank you. Thank you, water, for sustaining me in these trying times. Okay, so we are going to talk about Trails of Cold Steel. Whether people are here, listen to me talk about this game, no, that's up to you. You can stick around and listen to me talk about it, or you can choose not to. It's up to you. I know a lot of you guys were here to watch me literally trash that article about Mecha. And that's completely fine. I appreciate it. Okay. So, Trails of Cold Steel, for those of you who do not know what this game is, I'm going to talk about it. Trails of Cold Steel is part of the same series known as The Legend of Heroes, made by Falcom. It has a fair amount of titles. You got technically in 2004 with the release of Trails in the Sky, and that had 3 chapters. And then they made Trails of Zero and Trails of Azure, which were 2 chapters long. And the one we're going to be talking about today is the next story for the series, which is Trails of Cold Steel, which is 4 chapters, but I'm going to mainly be focusing on chapter 1 here because it's what I've played and finished. Haven't heard of Trails of Cold Steel? You should look it up. Quite seriously. Knights and Magic is good so far. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. It's a personal issue for me. It's one that I have to contend with on a regular basis of not being able to focus on things for too long, which can be really hard to do. And sometimes I think that, well, it could just be the heat and me being overly sensitive about it. I appreciate that you want to keep on me and keep asking. I appreciate that. It's just that I don't have anything right now. Buying, in particular, I think the program that I need to buy, called Dragon Naturally Speaking, is going to take a good amount of time for me to purchase because it's not cheap. And I don't have a lot of money right now. So I think once I have something like that, I can actually start writing stuff down more, at least on an efficient level, because I speak and process things in my head a lot faster than I do on paper. At least in that way, I can, maybe I'd have at least a little bit of a workflow going, at least. And maybe what I could do is I could maybe make a blog post of some kind, a blog page where I release it chapter by chapter when they're done. Of course, granted, it wouldn't be edited or anything, probably. Or maybe I could at least find a friend or something to edit for me, be my editor, and then we can release the chapters slowly as they're edited. I wouldn't mind doing that, but it might take me some time to figure out how to do it, and I'd need to find somebody to work with to help keep me motivated. We'll see what happens. I'm not giving up on it just yet. So, or maybe we'll run entirely, or another story. Playing Trails of Cold Steel and whatnot has me kind of thinking of working on another story idea I had. Kind of reviving an old short story I did back in high school and updating it. So we'll see what that happens. Now, where was I on my... I'll be bugging you like Toriyama's editor for his Dragon Ball manga run. Please don't. Please refrain. If you wouldn't mind, you are not my editor, so get off my back. Okay. So I kind of did considering that Florence Lupin just mentioned this, that he hadn't heard of Trails of Cold Steel. The Legend of Heroes games have been going since 2004. Currently, you can get all 3 chapters of Trails in the Sky on Steam, and I think on GOG. I think it's up there too. But you can buy the games from those, and it is recommended for the series to actually start with Trails in the Sky, and then the Trails from Zero and Trails from Azure before you go to Cold Steel, because the games are on a timeline and everybody is connected. There's basically, how in most role-playing games they have a giant continent where a lot of the stuff is happening and you kind of explore that one continent. Well, this one giant continent is split into multiple countries or control and power, or just just trying to live their lives depending on on what's going on. And all of them are connected to each other in some form or fashion. The depth that this game has, to me, is insane because it references all the stuff that's happening in the other games on a regular basis, which is very impressive. They have been, from what I can tell, have been very consistent with the series so far. I'm lagging in and out. How could I be lagging in and out? Seriously. My internet is fine. What is going on? I don't want to restart. Let me cut this out, cut that out. Maybe if I cut some of the browsers off, maybe that'll help. Okay, hold on. Cut that too. Am I buffing? Let me know. I apologize if we're getting choppy. That's a little weird on my part because everything was fine for a while. There's stuff I don't know. Could be on their end, could be on mine. I'm not sure. I could have sworn my thing is fine. At least for all intents and purposes, I'm pretty sure we're okay. Let's go to my channel real quick. Let me see what you guys are talking about, maybe. I'm not seeing a whole lot of lag. That's weird. Oh, wait, maybe there is a little lag. Off. I don't know what's going on with that. This is not good. Not good at all. I don't know what to do. Oh boy. I'm seeing if the buffering or anything changes. Guys, tell me improved or not. I'm gonna just start talking and hope that everything is okay. Say there's been a few disruptions, so it's making it a little hard to remember where I was going to go with this discussion. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, so let me see. Trails of Cold Steel. Like I said, for last week or so, I am very close to finishing the first game on the PS3. I have the PS2, or not PS2, but I have part 2 also for PS3 that I could play with one. But I really do, the effort that has gone into this game for things like world building and actually treating the main characters that you play as, but also the characters in the towns and whatnot have dialogue, they have personalities of their own, they have lives that they lead. It's really impressive. It's one of the most impressive things about it. A lot of things going on. The way that they structure the game so that you're slowly learning about the world that you're exploring and adventuring, about the politics of the world, how your particular country functions and operates, its problems, its shortcomings, the that's going on currently, the potential civil war. And a lot of it is really well done. I don't want to spoil too much for themselves personally, but I really, 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 really think this game is good. I can play the other 3 chapters over time. And this may end up being my favorite franchise JRPG. It might usurp every other one that I've ever loved for the amount of effort and time they put into this game. They put so much effort into this game that the novels are actually relevant and important. Some of the stories and novels that they tell you about are about future stories. And they have actually full-blown fictional novels, history books, and they actually recommend that you read them because you can get them. I haven't read very many of them yet, but I've read some of the stuff, and they actually help expand the world even more. Or in these particular games. And I really appreciate that because that takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication to make something that large. Okay, I'm going to stop for a brief second. I want you guys to tell me, am I still lagging in and out? I see we lost a few people. If people had to go do other things or if they logged out for some reason because the stream got all choppy, I don't know. But I'm going to ask. Did we do okay? Okay. So I'm not seeing anybody saying anything. So I have no idea if we're cutting in and out or if things are going poorly. I have no way of knowing. Let me double check. I'll check my own audio. Okay, we seem to be okay. I was just double checking. That. Maybe then it's just your internet, Joan. I don't know. Okay. So at least you're still here, Underworld. That's cool. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. And I hope you can get your cleaning done in a timely fashion, Wallace. Okay. So where was I? It's really hard to talk about the game without spoiling a lot of the game. That's the part that I'm not a big person for or against spoiling things and whatnot, considering I've already seen some of the spoilers for the subsequent sequels through it's not like I can completely say, hey, I'm okay with spoiling it or not spoiling it. But I do recognize that's for sure. I need to actually start from the beginning and play Trails of the Sky. Cold Steel, it's really hard for me to probably pull myself away to play the older game that is more sprite-based game and whatnot, but that's okay. I do think that the reason why Trails of Cold Steel in particular has become popular titles is because it kind of plays a little bit like a Persona game. There is a kind of a social link aspect. Students at a military academy, and you have all your classmates, and you get to engage in, really, where you get to learn about them a little bit better over time. Get to hang out with them and grow stronger bonds. Granted, for combat purposes, but you get to learn more as the game progresses. Even if you don't spend a whole lot of time doing the social interactions. But I think that this particular series, it's definitely helped it to make it more popular. Because it's like, oh, hey, people really like Persona and the whole social linking aspect. Oh, finding best girl. So why not make that in one of our games? No idea if it'll become a continuation. Like they'll keep series afterwards. I have no idea, but still, it's nice to have it there. That was probably one of the things that appealed to me. Even though I'm not the biggest Persona fan, I definitely do like the social aspects in Persona. I like dating sims. Dating sims can be a lot of fun at times, so I do appreciate that. And probably one of the things that I need to consider is that I will probably be doing a review for the first game once I'm done with it. So I have to probably hold off on at least some of my opinions and thoughts on the game, for so much in this video. But I do also really enjoy all of the characters in the game. Even side characters are very enjoyable to have around. Some of them you'll spend more time with than others. Let's see. Maybe I can at least discuss which characters are my favorite characters. Although all of the members of Class 7, I pretty much like all of them. More than others, obviously, but I do like pretty much everybody. So it's really difficult to say, oh, I like this character and these characters kind of suck. But they're all really good. But it's actually kind of funny because both me and my brother play this game a lot, and we both really like it. Aside from the main, is my avatar today, which is Reen. His favorite character is Usus, who's one of the bigger nobles in class. And I can't deny it, I do like Usus too. He's not my favorite of the other supporting male members of your club. Goes to Gaius, mainly just because he's such a chill dude. Big chill dude who likes to just be friendly toward everybody and doesn't have a lot of preconceived. So I kind of like him more. But Usus and Machias are like the best rivalry for how can I be the biggest dick to one another possible? Because Machias is a hothead in the group, and passion. His father is part of the reformist faction, and he does not have a good standing point for, or doesn't like nobles at all. And Usus obviously can tell, and he pushes his buttons every chance he gets. And that is really fun to watch, actually. There's also Elliot, male characters in the game, who's part of your party. He's pretty cool. He's very friendly. I don't have anything really negative to say about him that I can think of. But design-wise, he's kind of boring. Not really very interesting. And considering he's one of the first members of the group that actually becomes your friend early on, so it's kind of like, me and him are just buds. We've been buds for the whole time. Getting to learn a little bit more about his history and background and why he's at the military academy was interesting, though. Especially considering for his love of music. Um, we might as well talk about the girls for a bit. Because everybody likes conversations about best girl, don't they? Everything about best girl. So, let me do something real quick. I'm going to type in... Do that. Give me a second. Tab. And share. There we go. What you are looking at right now is the first girl that we're going to talk about. Fee. She is a cat. I'm kidding. She's kind of like a cat. She sleeps a lot. Is kind of indifferent towards everybody. Or just in general, she's cool with pretty much everything. Doesn't really care. She is funny and blunt to the point of it actually hurting. In my opinion, she's not best girl, but she's definitely fun to have around. She has given my character a hard time, especially in chapter 6. I let her tag along with me when I was meeting another woman for an important mission, and she ran me over the coals the entire time. I haven't forgiven her for that just yet, but she's cute, so it's really hard to hate her. Let's go. Alyssa. I'm going to use this image. This is Alyssa. Another member of your class. She is our tsundere. Also, not best girl. At least not in my opinion. But she is cute. I do like her. She has touched my heart a few times during the story. But her more independent nature and the fact that she yells at me sometimes for being the player that I am, unintentional as it is, she's still pretty cool. She's a good girl. She needs a lot of head pats. Although be careful, maybe you shouldn't head pat her. She might get mad at you later. Just saying. Okay, so that's Alyssa. And then we've got Laura. Okay. Laura is probably one of my favorites. Definitely top running for best girl. Laura is awesome. She is a warrior, first and foremost. She is a student of the sword. She's tough as frickin' hell. But it's very clear that she was raised more or so by her father, because her mother seems to be out of the picture. Her father is an expert swordsman of the Empire, and she has clearly inherited more of that personality of being the stalwart fighter. It is kind of cute and adorable when she tries to do more ladylike or girly things. It's kind of funny to watch her try that. I had one event with her recently where we had a box lunch. It was adorable. She tries, but it's okay. She doesn't have to be the femininely girly type if she doesn't want to. Because, especially not for me, because she kind of matches with kind of some of the more typical female characters that I end up liking more, where they're not really super girly characters who are, wholly interested in, cooking and all that stuff. I actually approve of Laura. She is I would say my second favorite character for the girls. But to me, this girl is my favorite. I really like Emma. The little bookworm. The smartest girl in school, quite literally. I'm not exaggerating that. She's top of everyone's class. But to me, she is best girl. I'm not even going to pretend or front. There's a lot about her right now that I still do not know, despite the fact that I have been with the character for so long in the first chapter. But it's very clear that she's hiding something. She just hasn't opened up to me or the rest of the team about what it is. And she clearly knows more about Reen and what he's actually capable of than the others do. Because Reen has a strange ability and power that shows up later. Anyway, but yes, Emma is best girl. But there's a lot. Basically, all the characters are great. I'm going to just say that right now. All the characters are awesome, personally. There's a lot of them that I really, really enjoy. Okay. And the one thing I did notice, I don't know why this happens all the time, but it is funny to see how the fact that this character right here, the main character, Reen, is probably one of the biggest players in a JRPG I have ever seen. Or at least one where he's kind of oblivious to some of it. But like almost every female character is interested in him. And I find that hilarious. He's like a harem protagonist, almost. But yeah. To me, that is kind of funny. How he finds so much. He finds himself in situations where everyone automatically assumes that he's doing something somewhat, or that he's dating more than one woman or something to that nature. It's like, it's kind of funny. It's ridiculous, but I love it. And, well, I've been going for about 2 hours, most petered out, which is okay. I think actually I'm going to stop for now. Mainly just because it's hot and I kind of recording because it's probably making it worse. But thanks everybody for joining the stream. I hope everybody had fun. I did. And I will talk to you. I will hopefully be streaming on Wednesday. This upcoming Wednesday, we'll get back to SD Gundam Cross Raid. Hopefully. That's the plan anyway. But we'll see. It depends on how hot it gets. If it gets too hot, then we probably won't. But if the weather is permitting, we'll be doing that. But yeah, video later on. You can like, you can subscribe, you can share the stream if you want. All that good stuff. Links to social media is in the description. And if you want. And yeah, I will talk to you guys in the next stream. Goodbye.